Hey folks, welcome back. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and many of you already know that I'm a huge fan of LEGO Space. The sub-themes that released in the 1990s are among my favorites, and I very nearly completed a full collection of them. The sheer build diversity and creativity of design is what draws me to this era of LEGO Space, despite it not really being the stuff I grew up with. Oh yes, R.R. Slugger is not just chasing nostalgia in his obsession with 90s space. For the record, as a kid, I had 0 M-Tron sets, 0 Blacktron 2 sets, 0 Space Police sets, 1 Ice Planet set, 0 Spyrius sets, 0 Unitron sets, 0 Explorian sets, 0 UFO sets, 1 Roboforce set, and 0 Insectoid sets. If you include Rock Raiders, and I do, I had 3 of those as well, coming to a grand total of 5 out of nearly 190 space sets. My love for this era of LEGO is something I found as an adult, not as a kid. Sorry for the tangent, but I felt the need to point this out right up front, as I so often get comments to the effect of, "You just like this because you're nostalgic for it." I find these sorts of statements to be off the mark, to say the least. Assuming one's nostalgia for something is presumptuous at best and baseless at worst. It's just a bad argument to make. So, how does this admiration for 90s space affect my outlook on LEGO's later offerings? Well, evidently, I think it means that I value striking color palette choices and creative yet solid builds. Intricate play features weren't a major part of most 90s space sets, so I don't think I value this as highly. I'm also not a fan of conflict in a box, essentially the practice of making sure each set has a side build representing an opposing force. I bring this up because, from Mars Mission onward, most future LEGO space sets would fall into this trapping. The theory is that it allows a kid who only gets one set from a series to have a good guy model and a bad guy model, all within one package. In reality, though, this means that 2 models have to share a parts budget, and are, at least in my opinion, more often than not made worse by having to be included in the same box as each other. This philosophy was everywhere in LEGO's catalog in the late 2000s, and continues to be a staple of set design today, though admittedly not nearly as bad as it once was. If you're like me and believe that conflict in a box leads to worse overall designs, then there's hardly anything for you in this period of LEGO, and you'll likely view it as a low point in the product history of the company. I don't think I'm crazy for saying this either, it's just a matter of preference. Why buy a set with 2 mediocre builds when I can just buy a set with 1 good build? To ask a hypothetical, does taking something like 30 pieces away from the Space Police Rebel Hunter to give the included Blacktron 2 minifigure a little spaceship make this set better? If you answered yes, then I've got a series set on Mars that you're gonna love. If you answered no, then I've got a series set on Mars that you're gonna love. I'm making such a big deal out of this right now because if we want to discuss the future of LEGO Space, we need to recognize that the introduction of conflict in a box represented a massive philosophical change to how sets were and still are designed. There's LEGO Space before Mars Mission, and there's LEGO Space after Mars Mission. They're 2 different beasts. When I look at the Crater Cruiser, I know that every piece that went into it went towards making it the best it could possibly be. Not perfect, but the best it could possibly be. When I look at ETX Alien Strike, I can't help but wonder how the obvious and numerous deficiencies in both models could have been alleviated if they didn't have to coexist in the same box together. I think I need only point to a standout series like Power Miners as a positive example of this. It notably features little to no conflict in a box, at least not in the ways I've been describing. I don't look at these sets and wonder how much better they could have been if they didn't include these tiny little rock monsters. No, Power Miners had its priorities straight, delivering rock-solid builds first and foremost. Can you imagine how much worse these models would have been if the designers had to sap away 10 to 20% of their parts budget to throw in little rock monster vehicles or terrain side builds? I can. Frankly, it's miraculous how good Power Miners turned out to be, given the company it kept. Anyways, now that I have my personal history and preferences for LEGO Space set design firmly established, let's talk about the future and why it's looking bleak. I mean, the future of LEGO Space. Right. Previously, I made 2 videos going over the most recent LEGO City Space offerings and why they weren't quite my tempo. I think some of my thoughts have been misunderstood, and that's on me for not articulating more clearly. Basically, while I appreciate that LEGO is doing something space-related, I don't consider it to be the big event that some of the fans or marketing would have you believe. Barring some baby steps to the contrary, this is just another LEGO City Space theme. They could have just waited a couple years to release the 2022 sets, slapped the new branding on them, and the effect would have been the same. So when I was reading through the comments on my latest video regarding LEGO Space, I was surprised to see so many folks saying things along the lines of, "Well, Slugger, this is still LEGO City. What did you expect?" Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or that's what I'm trying to say. It's obvious to me now that I did a poor job reiterating this point, as it's something that was largely carried over from the previous video on the topic. More than anything, this just isn't what excites me about LEGO Space. The Friends sets are a bit better in their bolder color choices, but the designs still feel too safe for my liking. These are still astronauts from Earth using NASA-adjacent design language in a not-too-distant future setting, and is anyone else bored of this? My disdain for the current direction of LEGO Space doesn't come from a lack of understanding, though. I know perfectly well that hard sci-fi has been in vogue for decades at this point, and that comes with a certain look and feel that centers on being grounded and believable. While I love a lot of good hard sci-fi media, I just don't think it makes for interesting toy design. The pulpy science fiction designs of yesteryear are much more interesting to me because they represent the unreal, pure creativity and imaginative potential, not drab, derivative pseudo-realism. I want to emphasize that just because you understand why something is the way it is, it doesn't mean you have to like it. And not liking it doesn't mean you don't understand it. Now, to be fair, I am taking my ire out on one wave of LEGO sets and criticizing it for not being something that it isn't trying to be in the first place. That's a valid criticism to bring up, but I want to try to reframe the discussion a bit. I don't hate these new LEGO City Space sets. As I've said before, they're fine for what they are. They're just not what I wanted them to be. This is more of a, I'm sure the salmon is tasty, but I ordered steak sort of scenario for me. Or more to the point, I've been eating the same salmon for 20 years. Do you think I could get some steak? I want my criticisms to be viewed as critiques of the direction LEGO is taking their space themes, not of the themes themselves. My statements like, "This isn't really what I want from LEGO Space," are not intended to imply that the 2024-2025 sets have nothing to offer. Now, you could respond to my request by telling me to shut up, eat the salmon, and be grateful that I'm getting that much, but I would hope that a more reasonable tact could be taken. In an ideal world, both pulpy and hard sci-fi original LEGO Space themes should be able to coexist, and indeed they have before. This is what Everybody Wins looks like. However, is it actually worth hoping for a better future? This is where we get to the bleakness alluded to in the title of the video. Recently, Chris Faber, who worked with the LEGO Group for years, said this in an interview.
The deal between Lucas and LEGO was you're not doing any, extraterrestrial or space stuff outside the solar system. So everything we did with space up till then was stopped by Star Wars.
Now, this of course lacks citations or any official proof to back it up, but if we take what Faber is saying as accurate, then that means the continued existence of LEGO Star Wars is what's keeping LEGO Space tethered to Earth like an anchor. All of the space themes after LEGO Star Wars' introduction in 1999 have taken place within our solar system. I think it's arguable whether or not that includes the most recent offerings too. I personally think it does, but I'd be curious to hear others' thoughts as well. This makes the future of the series look incredibly bleak. If receiving a proper new LEGO Space theme really is contingent on the death of LEGO Star Wars, then I guess it's time to move on. I will be dead in the ground before Star Wars, of that I'm sure. And before you rush to the comments section to tell me how Disney is mismanaging Star Wars and it'll surely lead to the death of the brand, please know this. People have been dooming and glooming Star Wars quite literally for 25 years at this point. I remember folks saying if Attack of the Clones doesn't stick the landing, Star Wars is over. The franchise survived 3 universally panned movies in a row, and the fact that there's now even debate as to which 3 really are the bad ones only shows that Star Wars will continue to survive creative bankruptcy and deficiencies in storytelling. It's like a cultural cockroach, completely unkillable by conventional means. So, in a fight between LEGO Space and Star Wars, well, I know which one's the safe bet. Sorry to be a downer, everyone. In my defense, though, I made it quite clear that this video wasn't going to be sunshine and rainbows. With that being said, I can't end the video on such a dour note. Let's have some fun speculating what the LEGO Group could do with LEGO Space in the future. Given the limitations and requirements that a new LEGO Space theme might have to adhere to, what actually is the best possible outcome we can hope for? Well, if I see another series that only contains NASA-inspired designs, I think I might puke. So let's flip the script here. Working with the idea that our space theme must take place within the solar system, let's make the aliens come here rather than going to them. They're the ones with the bold and creative ship designs in this instance, not us. In this series, the aliens aren't coming to invade us, but rather to study us. They want to learn more about us and exchange ideas, culture, and technology. I could see various sets taking place on Earth. Aliens checking out our shopping districts, aliens driving their space cars on our racetracks. The sky's the limit. Conflict in a box doesn't always mean that the 2 models included have to literally fight each other, so I could see a set containing both a minifigure spaceship and an alien craft with swappable parts between the 2 of them. Even though it would probably use the new clip connection system that I dislike for this, I think it would be a fun way to play out the trades of technology and resources taking place. Let's actually give this series a name, too. Remember, we don't want this to be an offshoot of LEGO City. We want any future LEGO Space themes to have their own identity, just like they used to. I think LEGO First Contact has a nice ring to it and illustrates what the theme is about, meeting an intelligent alien species for the first time. Anyways, that's just the musings of a slug on the internet. What are your thoughts on the future of LEGO Space? Is it really as bleak as I make it sound? I've been your host, RR Slugger, and I'll see you next time for another video.